Hello everyone, it's thomasjujube, and welcome back to my look at all the Transformers movies leading up to this Christmas's Transformers Bumblebee. Today, we're taking a look at 2011's Dark of the Moon. So be sure to hit that eye in the corner if you missed any of the previous videos, so you can take a look at my thoughts on Transformers 2007 and Revenge of the Fallen. So now, let's just not mess around and let's get right into Dark of the Moon's positives. The biggest positive, in my opinion, is that there's a lot of robot action. There's, I think, probably the most robot action so far. There's a lot of robot action. It's really cool. All of it's really well done. My favorite is the highway chase, which I have to say is one of my favorite battle sequences in the entire franchise. I love the soundtrack, which I'll get to in a second, but it's really well done. But it's also like a car chase, which is really cool. The stealth force makes it really cool. The whole thing is just awesome. Along with that, the opening on Cybertron is cool. It is kind of a repeat of History of the Transformers in the beginning of the movie, and we're going to keep getting that. But it is a really missed opportunity to give us a full-on Cybertron battle since we focus on the arc. But that's just a smaller nitpick because, thank you, Transformers Bumblebee, for giving us a full-on Cybertron battle. Along with awesome battle sequences, the entire third act is perfection. It's an awesome idea to have an army of Decepticons take over an entire city and hold it hostage. Now, it's not perfection, but I think it's probably the best final battle sequence of the entire franchise. It's basically Mission City, which I loved, and it's cranked up to an 11. And it's really cool. I love that we have Transformer drone ships casually flying through a human city. Just stuff like that is really cool. I like seeing the Decepticons at a high point because it really makes you feel like we're against the odds, and it makes the victory with the Autobots feel even more satisfying. All the action sequences are also really improved because of the amazing sounds in this movie. The soundtrack is amazing. The battle soundtrack, if you haven't looked it up, I'm gonna do you a favor right now. Open a new tab, type in Transformers Battle Song, and take a listen to that first result. The battle song is just beautiful. It really improves the highway chase, which I talked about earlier. Along with that, the drone ships have a very distinct alarm beeping sound. I don't know how to describe it. You probably know what it sounds like. It's really distinct, and it really kind of adds this threat level to the drone ships, which is really cool. Along with that, the mystery of the dark side of the moon and the search for it worked really well for the human story, and it was cool to have like a Decepticons conspiracy. I really like the idea of Decepticons working with humans. That's the first time it's done in the movie franchise, and I think it's really awesome. Dylan as the first human is cool, and he provides a cool antagonist for Sam. He's kind of like a double for Sam. It's nice to have a human antagonist so that we can kind of have the Transformers focus on the Transformers. Really great. Speaking of Sam, Dark of the Moon provides the finale in our story with him. We have him go out and look for a job, and he actually has a decent part in the action. He actually ends up killing Starscream. So I think it's a great close for Sam's story. But speaking of Sam, he's actually a source of a lot of the movie's problems. As I mentioned, he goes out and looks for a job, but we have a whole montage of him looking for jobs, and it just feels really out of place and doesn't really do a lot. And along with that, at the job he gets, he meets Jerry Wing, and I'm not going to talk about that at all. That goes under classic Michael Bay stupid humor. It's really disturbing. And again, speaking of Sam, we have to talk about Sam's new girlfriend, Carly. She completely undermines the point of the previous movies, which was Sam trying to impress Michaela, and then he gets Michaela, and then he has the romantic stuff with her in Revenge of the Fallen. It worked for Sam's character as a nerdy kid trying to get the popular girl, and he succeeded. But then he just leaves Michaela, or she dumps him, I guess. But then immediately Sam hooks up with a girl who is a Victoria's Secret model in real life. What? Like, I kind of feel cheated. And especially a lot of scenes in the movie feel like it was meant for Michaela to be in the role. Like, I understand that Megan Fox left the movie and we probably needed a main female lead, but we could have just changed it to, like, a relative, like Sam's cousin or something, and you didn't need the romantic stuff. But I just feel really cheated that Michaela's gone and immediately Sam's just with another girlfriend, despite all that he did in the previous two movies to get Michaela and keep Michaela. I don't know. Along with that, I'm not usually one to talk about dumb plans in movies or shows, but here just doesn't make a lot of sense. So Megatron and Sentinel Prime strike a deal to use the pillars to bring back Cybertron, but both end up in stasis. But despite this, the Decepticons still go to the Ark on the moon and collect all the pillars, but they don't retrieve Sentinel because they need to wait for Optimus Prime to come back and get him years later when he gets the Matrix of Leadership that was never known about. What? It seems like the Decepticons were just kind of lucky with the fact Optimus got the Matrix of Leadership and managed to revive Sentinel, because they didn't know they could revive Sentinel. And also, just a bit of a nitpick, but something I want to mention is that we had a cool opportunity to have Sam working for the Decepticons when he had the watch bot, but it was just played up for laughs and didn't do much, but just a nitpick. And then of course we have the standard complaints with all Transformers movies. We spend so much time with the humans that the Transformers just feel like
background characters, especially with how many of them there are that aren't developed at all or fleshed out as actual characters, so it just feels like humans in a movie, not Transformers, okay.
So despite those negatives that I mentioned, those negatives are pretty big for me, but I actually think Transformers Dark of the Moon really improves upon the big issues of Revenge of the Fallen, and even improves on the best parts from the first movie. So because of this, I'm actually going to place it at the #1 spot. I know, many people like Transformers 1, but remember, this list is based on my opinion, so please don't get mad. I still love Transformers 1, holds a lot of nostalgia for me, but I'm actually going to put Dark of the Moon at #1. And it also holds a lot of nostalgia for me, because it was the first Transformers movie I saw in theaters. So, that wasn't controversial enough. Well, anyway, let me know what you thought about Transformers Dark of the Moon down in the comments down below, and please consider hitting that big fat subscribe button to stay tuned for next week's video when we look at Transformers Age of Extinction. I hope to see you then. Thank you for watching. You guys do not know how many mistakes I made in that video. Ooh.